I have never seen a group of 31 people bond together so tightly and so quickly. After the first or second day, the group just gelled, and I think that everybody was there for the same reason, to see the culture of Japan and actually get to experience it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jack and Terry Show. Our special guest today is Kevin Parrett. He is the chair of Global Studies and International Partnerships at Kentucky Community and Technical College System. And he's on here today to talk about a recent trip that he took these folks on to Japan. And we have Josh Shortt. He's a news reporter at Fox 56 TV in Lexington, Kentucky. And he's also the executive producer of the Jack and Terry Show.
That is
How about
right.
that? Jack, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Terry.
Now, let's start out with Kevin. Kevin, if you don't mind, just go ahead and we're talking about this recent trip to Japan, which you planned this a long time ago. Joshua got involved because we heard about it on the Jack and Terry Show. So he went along, he had a firsthand experience with it, got him on here today to talk about the experience. But why don't you go ahead and summarize for us this most recent trip to Japan?
Yeah, sure thing. This was a 10-day tour that we did, going to Japan, different parts of the cities like Tokyo, Hiroshima, and then also we went into the countryside as well. Josh will let you know a little bit more about that when he talks. But what it was a week to 10 days, depending on if the people did this stay over. And it was really just to get immersed in the Japanese culture, the food, the customs. And we had and Josh can back this up too, a great tour guide who is from Japan named Taku, Taku. He was fantastic. He led us through and got us, no language barriers. Most of the people there speak English anyway, but he always got us to the front of the lines, to all the different sites that we saw, gave us all kinds of extra information, and it just made like a fantastic tour. I don't usually say this, but Josh was there and he can back this up as well. I have never seen a group of 31 people bond together so tightly and so quickly. After the first or second day, the group just gelled, and I think that everybody was there for the same reason, to see the culture of Japan and actually get to experience it. So I think overall that it just all came together in what we call the perfect storm.
Absolutely. Now, that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you. When you're taking a large group like that, you're moving them from Elizabethtown, Kentucky to the other side of the world, a lot of technicalities, getting everybody in the right place at the right time, making sure there's no conflict among people. That was what I was going to ask you. So your experience was that everybody just got along perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it was unusual. I mean, I'm not saying people go and they get into arguments or discussions or whatever, but this one, everybody was just happy. Everybody was there for the same reason. Like I said, it just gelled together just like it should be. It was fantastic.
What were the age group, would you say, that you had on this trip, Kevin?
We had two teenagers and their grandparent, or one of their grandparents, brought them. So two teenagers, and then the oldest was 70. So it's a pretty good range.
Wow, that's interesting. I always wondered about that too. I originally thought it was just a lot of younger people that were students at the college, but like you pointed out last time, you welcome anybody that's interested in going, just if they're able to come up with the money to do it and follow the rules that you have. Well, that's awesome. We'll come back and talk more about that in just a minute, but let's run out to Josh. Josh, you were on the trip. You heard about the trip. You already knew Kevin. You'd taken Kevin's courses when you were over at ECTC years ago. Joshua, what was your experience on this trip?
Well, it's hard to tackle in one video. I mean, the last time I went overseas, honestly, I couldn't even remember it. I was just, I think, 2 or 3 at the time, and it was in Korea. So this was the first time I actually got to jump in, get immersed in it, get immersed in all the culture, all the food, all the festivities, really just go all in. I don't think it quite hit me because we took that 13-hour flight from Chicago. So, in-flight movies, not too bad. My longest time on a plane, though. But I remember us hitting the airport in Tokyo, and Kevin looks at me and he says, "Well, Josh, we're in Japan." And oddly enough, it just didn't hit me right away. I'm thinking, wait, really? This is actually happening? Like, I knew I was going, but when I got there, I was still like, this feels the same, but new. I didn't really feel like an outsider when I had Taku because he was just so good at kind of just getting you involved in what was going on. The way the tours were kind of set up, it was guided. So a lot of it was Taku taking you around to landmarks, explaining the significance of them. But then he would tell you, okay, go out, have some fun, explore, just meet back here at this time. The only regret is that we had so little time to do everything. I mean, I just wanted to go get involved in everything. But of course,
Mhm.
only a certain amount of time during the day, a lot of stuff to see. But honestly, like 11 out of 10, recommend anyone to go on a trip like this. It was great.
What about food? So you're in a place where probably I'm assuming that you didn't have much food, American food. So you're dealing with a lot of you're dealing with a different culture. What was your what are your thoughts about that? The difference in food. Well, you're always interested in different types of food anyway, but
Oh yeah, absolutely. The food was my favorite part. You know, when I was going, when I was running through that itinerary that Kevin had sent, that's the part I kind of like eagle-eyed the most. I'm like, okay, I think this is going to be my favorite part. And I wasn't wrong. That was actually my favorite part of the trip there. Getting to try food that I wouldn't get to try otherwise. Of course, you have a lot of Japanese restaurants. In fact, there's like 3 not far from me here in Lexington. And before I took this trip, I went to all of them because I want to like actually compare American Japanese food to authentic Japanese food. It's night and day though. I just can't
oh,
describe the difference between them. Like a lot of the stuff you'll get here, actually all of it, it's Americanized. So the Japanese stuff you try here, all the sushi or whatever it may
mhm,
be, it's going to taste a lot different once you're in Japan.
mhm,
And I prefer the stuff from Japan. I mean,
I
just
bet.
the fact that it was fresh, it was right there that day. I
Mhm.
mean, just that was the best part, honestly, just getting to experience something that I couldn't do in my own backyard. And I think that's
I
the
gotcha.
beauty of international trips like this.
Kevin, let's run back out to you.
Yes.
What about accommodations? Give us a little summary of how do accommodations work on these on that trip specifically?
Well, we do a mix, like even on this tour, we had a mix of city hotels and also ones in the country. We actually got to stay in a ryokan, which is the traditional Japanese. And actually that was my best sleep of the whole trip. And it was on the
Really?
floor with like a
Agreed.
like a sleeping bag type of thing, you know, but that was actually my best sleep. So we did a mix of, like I said, modern hotels and also the ryokan, the traditional Japanese hotels. And the younger people, there's usually 2 or 3 to a room, and adults are usually 2 max or 1 person per room.
Mhm. Now, these that when I saw some of the photos that looked like these were out in the countryside, and so are they sort of like a guest house that you would see in Europe? Is that similar concept?
It was just more like a traditional Japanese room. In the countryside, at least, there's a traditional Japanese room, like with the sliding, very thin walls. But it was really quiet in there too. I don't know if Josh experienced that. I thought it was going to be a little noisier, but it was so quiet because we were in the country. So
Mhm.
those thin walls really didn't make a difference, you know.
Mhm. Now you had 31 people, and give me an idea of where did all these people come from? Are they locals?
Yeah, most actually we had a few that came from other states. There was one from Florida, one from Georgia. So they just ran through their, you know, local airports and met us inside of Chicago before we went to Tokyo.
Are you finding that a lot of the people that go with you on these trips are repeat travelers with you?
Yeah, I think about 10 of the Japanese travelers were repeats. So they came on other tours as well. And actually on this tour, I mentioned that I was going to do one to Israel and Egypt, and now a lot of people are interested in those.
Mm. So Egypt and Israel is where we're going next.
Yes, and also
Okay.
Spain and Morocco. So in the next 2 years, it'll be Spain, Morocco, Israel, and Egypt.
Wow. Well, Joshua, in your case, so you met a lot of people. You didn't know any of these people, did you, before you went on there?
No, and that's the
Josh?
weird part. The fact that these people literally live, some of them are in E-Town, they literally live an hour from me. And had I not gone to the other side of the world, I never would have met these people that just live like right next to me. It's just mind blowing to think about that.
And you probably made friends for life as a result
Oh
of
yeah.
having that experience, I'm guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I was texting some of them today, like, hey, I'm about to be on this interview about our trip. And we still send each other just pictures of memories that we've made over there. It's
Yeah.
weird because it seems like it was years ago that we did this, but I mean, to think that it was just what, 2 months ago almost.
Mhm.
I mean, just it just feels like so much time has passed in between now and then because we did so much in one week.
Right. Kevin, I'm guessing that you have some tour organization or some way that you coordinated, because I know it's complicated
Yeah.
getting everybody passports, everybody in the right city at the right time and all those things. I know it's complicated. So you have a vendor that you specifically work with that helps you coordinate all this?
We sure do. We actually use a third party because they do all the planning, and that's the most difficult part. I've tried to do it on my own, and the companies just have such a broader reach of staff and personnel that they can use to book all of these things. And the good thing is, once we get to these sites, as Josh will tell you, we didn't have to wait in line because we're a group. So we get to go to the front of the line and go right through without having to wait into long lines that everybody else has to. So that also speeds up the process, allows us to see more. And it's just an amazing way to see so much. Like Josh says, we did so much. It seems like it was last year, but it was just 6 weeks ago or whatever. So just did so much in 1 week there.
Moving 31 people around. Did you lose anybody?
Well, we did pretty well overall. Nobody wandered off too far from the tour bus or from Taku.
Well, that's good. So I've heard a lot about Taku. Is he an American or was he a Japanese?
He's from Japan. He's actually from near Yokohama, and he actually went to college in Oklahoma. So he went to, I think, OSU, Oklahoma State University, and that's where he, had to learn English more. And he went back and he used his education being over here to speak English to lead these tours in Japan.
Wow.
I do pre-departure meetings, and what I do in those pre-departure meetings is just kind of put in the things, what to look for, what to be careful about, the mistakes I've made over the different trips, so that when people do go, hopefully it gave enough information where it made their process a little smoother too.
Right. Well, Josh was telling us some of the things you did, the coordination. It is complicated, but the fact that you did all your pre-briefings and all those things, I mean, you know what you're doing. You've done it before. Well, let's run out to Josh and then come right back to you, Kevin, to find out what's next, where are we going next, and how do people get involved in that? Josh, tell us a little bit in closing, a little bit more about your experience with this and whether or not you recommend this to people in your age group or any age group for that matter.
Absolutely. So living in America, if you live here your whole life, you're bound to see that tourist who comes in here not knowing a whole lot. It was cool for me to be that tourist going in there not knowing a whole lot. For example, that first night I was in the hotel, I was just saying hi to everyone in the elevator, and they were all looking at me like, so I go and ask Taku, hey, I told everyone on the elevator hi. They were looking at me funny. Did I do something wrong? He was like, well, Josh, you just went in that elevator and without context said yes to all of them. Because in Japanese, hi means yes. So
yeah, yep, that's true. Yep.
But with that, it's fun to just go to a place that you're not familiar with and get yourself in these situations where you kind of like force yourself to learn more. Without these international trips, and don't get me wrong, America has a lot. We're blessed to be here. But in Japan, you'll find out that the culture is very different. For example, tipping isn't common there. The streets of Tokyo were spotless. I have never seen city streets that clean in my life, just because they take everything so seriously with that. But all that to say, international travel, take those chances when you get them because they don't come up all the time, especially one as seamless as this one where a lot of accommodations and food things were taken care of for you.
Thank you, Josh. And Kevin, let's leave you with the last word. Tell us where we're going next and how people can go with you.
Well, just to let you know, I know I mentioned some earlier. I'm actually going to go to Cuba in November, and that's going to be funded by the Central Kentucky Community Foundation. And what they're going to do, I'm going to go test a tour out and then offer Cuba probably in 25 or 26 for people to go to as well.
Wait, so you're going to go to Cuba first to see if it works out, and then you're going to bring a tour?
Yes. And that's sort of what I did with Egypt. I went to Egypt in March as a test just to make sure that everything's good. And then I'm going to bring people in 25 to Egypt as well. So in the next few years, again, I'll repeat, we'll have Cuba. Cuba is an option. Spain and Morocco are next May. Next September will be Israel. And I think it's next summer will be Egypt. And I'll put all that out, via various Facebook posts, social media posts, and at the college as well.
Well, sign me up for the one to Cuba.
Okay.
I've always wanted to go to Cuba.
Well, and that's a really unique situation. I've been once before, and you can only go right now through educational means because of the food embargo, since the 1960s. So it's good to go, but you can only get through there through certain ways, like through education. So you have to fly yourself to Miami, and then from there, a Cuban airline will pick you up and take you there because you have to go through these different steps to make sure we follow all the rules.
Right. Well, that's excellent. You guys did a great job. I really appreciate you coming on here to promote what you guys are doing. And also, Kevin, I especially appreciate the fact that you shared with us what you knew, you shared with us the projects that you're working on, and hopefully we've influenced some other people to get in touch with you. As Josh said, international travel forces a person to grow. There's other places besides Kentucky, and there's other places besides the United States of America. Although it's great here, you really learn a lot by going to these other countries. And also you notice how other people live. It can make you want to live the way they live, or it might make you not want to live the way they live. It's a combination of all that. There's no perfect place. It's not Japan, it's not America, but there's no perfect place, I guess, until we get to heaven. Then it's going to be pretty perfect when you get there.
It's a great time for international travel too. I remember on Kevin's pre-departure meeting slides, I have never seen something so beautiful in my life than seeing a list of COVID restrictions all marked out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a huge deal for international travel to be back in the way that it is now. I know that may not be the case everywhere, but now that we're off the COVID pandemic for the most part, I mean, now is the time to jump on a plane and go somewhere.
You're right. You're absolutely right. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Folks, that was Kevin Parrett. He is the chair of Global Studies and International Partnerships at Kentucky Community and Technical College System. And we had Josh Shortt. He is a news reporter at Fox 56 TV station in Lexington and executive producer of the one and only Jack and Terry Show. Josh, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on this side of the camera. Different feel for once.
Kevin, thank you, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you all so much.
Jack, nice seeing you, and we'll see you in about a week.
Good to see you, Terry. I'm a little bit disappointed though. I was hoping maybe that you would have to go to Cuba on one of those inner tube rafts. But
Oh, and they're actually leaving Cuba in those rafts.
well, I wasn't sure if that was a round trip.
All right, guys, thanks a lot.
Thank you.